seemingly such a passive game.
He surrenders.
Dude, when he gets in here, pat him on the back, say congratulations, enjoy it, and tell him not to serve fried chicken next year. Got it.
He keeps making this funny move. This went on for 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes.
The tragic fate of Fuzzy Zoeller before the fall. Before the single comment that would rewrite his legacy, Frank Urban Fuzzy Zoeller was one of professional golf's most cherished figures. In an era of intense competitors, he was a breath of fresh air. The happy-go-lucky player from southern Indiana brought natural charisma to every course he played. He was a gallery favorite who whistled his way down the fairways of the world's most demanding courses. This wasn't an act. It was authentic. He was, in every sense, the people's champion. One moment cemented this image forever. During the 1984 U.S. Open at Winged Foot, Zoeller stood in the 18th fairway, tied for the lead. His rival Greg Norman faced an impossible 45-foot putt to save par. When Norman miraculously holed it, Zoeller grabbed a white towel from his bag and waved it in mock surrender. The act was perfect. It showed grace, humor, and calm under major championship pressure. When Zoeller dominated the playoff the next day, Norman returned the gesture. The white towel became Zoeller's trademark, a symbol of sportsmanship that defined his career. His character was recognized by golf's highest authorities. In 1985, the United States Golf Association gave him the Bob Jones Award for distinguished sportsmanship. He joined legends like Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus. He was the opposite of stuffy country club culture. He was relatable, charming, a two-sport man from New Albany, Indiana, who made golf feel accessible, yet within this celebrated persona lay the seeds of its own destruction. His identity was built on being a jokester. His quips and barbs were part of the package. He told Craig Stadler his shoes looked like they came from a Buster Brown fire sale. People laughed. This reputation gave him latitude. His words weren't examined as closely as others. He operated without a filter. When he later defended his most infamous remarks by saying, "Anybody who knows me knows I am a jokester," he was leaning on a persona society no longer accepted as an excuse. The tragic irony is simple. The character trait that made him beloved became the fatal flaw that ensured his tragic downfall. But how did the man who won the highest honor for sportsmanship become a cultural pariah? To understand the fall, you must first understand the heights he reached. In April 1979, Fuzzy Zoeller arrived at Augusta National as a rookie making his first Masters appearance. What followed was one of the most improbable victories in golf history. He started the final round 6 strokes behind the leader. He mounted a comeback to post 8 under par. Then he watched Ed Snead, who held a 3-shot lead with 3 holes to play, bogey all 3 holes. This created a 3-way tie with Zoeller and Tom Watson. It forced the first sudden death playoff in the history of the Masters. On the second playoff hole, Zoeller struck his approach to within 6 feet. After Watson and Snead missed their birdie putts, Zoeller calmly rolled his in. He flung his putter into the air in celebration. He became the first golfer since 1935 to win the Masters on his debut appearance. It is a feat not repeated since the victory was a perfect manifestation of his happy-go-lucky persona. He was the dark horse, the charming outsider who shocked the golf world and walked away with a green jacket. The win announced his arrival on the biggest stage possible. It established him as more than just a talented player. It made him a star with a story that resonated with fans everywhere. It's hard to imagine a more perfect start to a career. Do you remember this era of golf when personalities like Fuzzy ruled the tour? Let us know in the comments. And if you love stories about golf's most legendary players, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what's next. 5 years later, his second major was a display of pure dominance. The 1984 U.S. Open was held at Winged Foot. Famous for its punishing difficulty, battling excruciating back pain, Zoeller engaged in a final round duel with Greg Norman. The tournament ended with Norman's 45-foot par save and Zoeller's white towel gesture. But the playoff the next day was no joke. Zoeller was flawless, firing a 67, the lowest score ever shot in a U.S. Open playoff. Norman crumbled, posting a 75. Zoeller won by 8 strokes. This victory revealed the other side of the coin. The white towel showed the charming jokester. The playoff showed a ruthless competitor capable of dismantling the world's best. This duality was his appeal. The affable showman with a killer instinct. These 2 major championships weren't just trophies. They were defining moments that shaped how the world viewed Fuzzy Zoeller. He had proven himself in the most pressure-packed situations. He had won with style and grace. He had shown he could handle adversity with humor and then deliver when it mattered most. These victories gave him credibility that extended far beyond the golf course. Zoeller's prime was concentrated excellence. All 10 of his PGA Tour victories occurred in just 7 years, from 1979 to 1986. This sustained period of high-level performance placed him firmly among the tour's elite. He wasn't just winning occasionally, he was a consistent presence at the top of leaderboards across the country. He became a star of the skins game, winning back-to-back in 1985 and 1986. His charisma and banter helped elevate the event to one of golf's most popular televised competitions. fans. He wasn't just a great player, he was a bankable entertainer. The skins game format was perfect for him. It rewarded aggressive play and personality. Zoeller had both in abundance. Television audiences loved watching him. He made golf fun. He made it accessible. He proved you didn't have to be stiff and serious to compete at the highest level. This popularity translated to commercial success. He became a highly sought-after pitchman. His most prominent deal was with Kmart. For over 7 years, he endorsed their golf clubs and displayed their logo at tournaments worldwide. The partnership was significant. Kmart was a major American retailer, having Zoeller as their golf ambassador put his face in front of millions of shoppers. He also had deals with Powerbuilt and Dunlop. These endorsements proved his value extended beyond tournament winnings. Companies wanted to associate their brands with his image. During the 1980s, Fuzzy Zoeller was more than a major champion. He was a cultural fixture in golf. He represented a certain kind of American athlete. He was successful but not arrogant. He was skilled but not pretentious. He was competitive but never forgot to smile. This combination made him beloved by fans who saw themselves in him. He was the everyman who happened to be extraordinary at golf. That persona was his greatest asset. It opened doors, it created opportunities, it made him wealthy and famous, but it also created the conditions for his eventual downfall. Then came 1997. The 1997 Masters was a seismic event. Tiger Woods, just 21 years old, wasn't merely winning his first major, he was orchestrating a paradigm shift. His record-shattering 12-stroke victory made him the first person of African-American descent to win a major. It altered the landscape of a sport long defined by exclusivity and racial homogeneity. It was a moment of profound cultural significance, celebrated far beyond golf. Woods represented change, he represented the future, he represented a golf world that would look different from the one that Fuzzy Zoeller had known for his entire career. Against this historic backdrop, Fuzzy Zoeller made a blunder that would irrevocably alter his life. After finishing in a tie for 34th place, Zoeller was approached by a CNN camera crew. They asked him to comment on Woods' performance. His response would become infamous. "He's doing quite well. Pretty impressive," Zoeller began. "That little boy is driving well and he's putting well. He's doing everything it takes to win." The patronizing term "little boy" to describe a fellow professional on the verge of history was jarring, but what came next was catastrophic. Referring to the tradition where the defending champion selects the champion's dinner menu, Zoeller continued, "So you know what you guys do when he gets in here? You pat him on the back and say congratulations and enjoy it, and tell him not to serve fried chicken next year, got it?" The comment invoked a crude and deeply offensive racial stereotype. The delivery made it worse. Zoeller smiled, snapped his fingers, and began walking away before turning back to add, "or collard greens or whatever the hell they serve." The smile, the finger snap, the casual nature of it all suggested a man making a comfortable joke among like-minded company. It wasn't fiery racism, it was something more insidious. The unthinking, casual racism of a man completely oblivious to the cultural weight and historical pain behind his words. What makes this moment even more damning is the context. Tiger Woods had just accomplished something historic. He had broken through barriers that had existed for decades. He had dominated the most prestigious tournament in golf. The world was celebrating, and in that moment of triumph, Zoeller chose to reduce him to a racial stereotype. The timing could not have been worse. The comment could not have been more tone-deaf. The incident exposed golf's insular culture. The remarks were made on Sunday but weren't broadcast for a week. This delay became controversial. Media critics questioned why reporters on site failed to report the comments immediately. As the Washington Post wrote, "Were other reporters saving nice guy Fuzzy from himself?" This failure to act suggested a clubby atmosphere where a popular figure was given an implicit pass, or perhaps more disturbing, the press corps itself was so steeped in golf's homogenous culture that they didn't immediately recognize the gravity of the offense. In that moment, Zoeller became the unwitting face of golf's uncomfortable reckoning with race. When the comments finally aired, the backlash was swift and severe. The folksy charm that defined his career evaporated overnight. He became the image of a racially insensitive relic. The consequences were immediate. Kmart severed ties almost immediately. The company received a significant volume of angry calls from consumers across the country. They called his remarks inappropriate and offensive. The loss was a major financial blow, erasing a partnership of more than 7 years. This wasn't just about money. It was about reputation. Kmart wanted nothing to do with the controversy. Zoeller embarked on a desperate tour of public contrition. His initial statement fell flat. It framed the incident as a joke that was misconstrued. This defense failed to grasp the severity and seemed to blame the audience. As outcry intensified, his posture shifted from defensive to devastated. At a press conference days later, choking back tears, he withdrew from the next tournament. "I'm the one who screwed up and I will pay the price," he said. He vowed not to play again until he could apologize to Tiger Woods personally. PGA Tour Commissioner Tim Fincham officially denounced the comments as inappropriate, unacceptable, and deeply offensive. Some fellow players tried to defend him. Tom Lehman suggested Zoeller was attempting to be funny and would have said the same thing to Woods' face. But even these defenses acknowledged the timing and taste were poor. Tiger Woods' response was crucial. He called the humor out of bounds and said he was disappointed. However, he acknowledged Zoeller's reputation as a jokester and stated no personal animosity was intended. He accepted the apology and urged everyone to move on. This act of clemency likely saved Zoeller from complete and permanent ostracization. Woods showed grace in a moment when he had every right to be furious. His forgiveness allowed Zoeller to continue his career, but it couldn't erase what happened. Here's where the narrative shifts. The story that Zoeller's racist comments destroyed a thriving career is compelling, but inaccurate. A closer look at his performance reveals a more nuanced and tragic truth. The controversy didn't cause his competitive decline. It provided a grim and permanent explanation for it. It cemented his slide from beloved former champion into a cultural pariah whose best days were already long behind him. Zoeller's peak ended more than a decade before the incident. His 10th and final PGA Tour victory came in July 1986. By the 1997 Masters, he was in an 11-year winless drought, while he had a resurgence in 1994, finishing 5th on the money list with over $1 million driven by 5 runner-up finishes. This was an outlier in a broader downward trend. His time as an elite force had passed. The wins had stopped coming. The competitive fire was dimming. The performance data tells the story. In 1997, he earned a meager 134 176 and failed to record a single top 10 finish. By 1998 and 1999, he was missing the cut at the Masters and US Open. His competitive relevance was already gone. The numbers don't lie. He wasn't competing at a high level anymore. The controversy happened during a period of professional vulnerability. It didn't end a thriving career. It simply gave that ending a narrative that would follow him forever. The real tragedy? The controversy didn't destroy his career. It just gave the world a permanent explanation for why it was already over. Without the 1997 incident, Zoeller would have faded quietly into retirement. He would have been remembered fondly as a 2-time major champion with a great personality. His decline would have been seen as natural, but the controversy changed everything. It gave people a reason to explain his fall. It transformed a natural decline into a morality tale about consequences. He found some redemption on the Champions Tour. He won the Senior PGA Championship in 2002. He won again at the 2004 MasterCard Championship. These victories added millions to his career earnings. They proved he could still compete against players his own age, but this just made him a star on a secondary tour, forever defined by the scandal. The wins were respectable, they were meaningful, but they couldn't change the narrative. The stain is indelible. When Sergio Garcia made a similar comment in 2013, the media immediately invoked Fuzzy Zoeller's name. He had become cultural shorthand for this type of disgrace. His 1997 misstep had become the historical benchmark for racial insensitivity in modern golf. He was no longer just a former champion. He was a cautionary tale. His name was now synonymous with a specific type of public disgrace. The incident had become a recurring nightmare, ensuring his greatest mistake would be perpetually relitigated in the court of public opinion. His legacy is eclipsed. The 1985 Bob Jones Award winner is now remembered for the joke. The man who achieved one of the rarest feats in golf, winning the Masters on his first attempt, is now inextricably linked to controversy at that very same tournament. The iconic image of him waving a white towel in good-natured surrender has been supplanted by the ugly image of him snapping his fingers after delivering a poisoned joke. Years later, he called it a joke that went bad and said, "I paid my dues." This perspective suggests he never fully grasped the gravity of his offense. By framing himself as the primary victim, he presented a narrative that stood in stark contrast to the public's understanding. He saw a personal misfortune. The world saw a moment of profound cultural ignorance. This disconnect ensures the stain on his legacy will likely never fade. The story of Fuzzy Zoeller is a profound cautionary tale. His career serves as a stark lesson that a lifetime of achievement, goodwill, and adoration can be undone in a matter of seconds. Zoeller had 2 major championships, a reputation for unparalleled sportsmanship, and the love of millions. But he was a relic of an older, more insular culture. He was woefully unprepared for the shift Tiger Woods represented. His joke was the product of a homogeneous environment where such stereotypes could be uttered without consequence, because the world outside that bubble was rarely listening. But in April 1997, with Woods' historic victory, the world was suddenly paying rapt attention to golf. Zoeller's downfall was a direct consequence of his inability to recognize that the rules of public discourse had fundamentally changed. He was a man out of time. He paid the price for it. The ultimate tragedy is that he lost control of his own story. He will never be remembered primarily as the whistling folk hero from Indiana who waved a white towel and won a green jacket. Instead, he is frozen in time, forever the man who told a poisoned joke at the precise moment the world was finally ready to listen and to condemn. His name is no longer synonymous with sportsmanship. It is a byword for a career-defining blunder, a cautionary tale whispered on the fairways for generations to come. What do you think was the biggest factor in Zoeller's downfall? Was it the joke itself, or was his career already over? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the tragic fates of sports legends.